Mental Health Awareness Month. With me today, I have Jordan Imhoff. How do you feel the mental health of the Vermont National Guard is right now?
Oh, that's a good question.
I wanted to give them a piece of advice to help them be mentally resilient in the Vermont National Guard.
Take care of yourself, and in every aspect of the word, day in, day out. But actually, go truly advocate for myself, that's really tough to do.
Yeah.
Take a break from your vices every now and then. That's why I try to tell people, I don't care how skilled someone is at navigating the troubles of life. Life is going to throw something everyone's way at some point.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our podcast, Kitchen Spoons and Combat Boots. We're here recording this one for Mental Health Awareness Month, which is coming up in May. With me today, I have Jordan Imhoff. Welcome to the podcast, Jordan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's definitely a little unique thing that we have going on here. And you're going to be our first headliner on our show. So welcome to the show.
Rock on.
So tell us a little bit about you, yourself, your role. What do you do? Go for it.
Cool. I'm the Psychological Health Coordinator for the Vermont Army National Guard. Been doing it for a little over 2.5 years now. Main part of my job is to answer the 24/7, 365 crisis phone. It's a military cell phone, so I can be mobile, obviously not live at the office. And the other part is to meet with soldiers and family members, up to 3 sessions per issue, I guess is the way it could be looked at. And then if it requires more than 3 sessions, or it's something that's out of my wheelhouse, then refer them out to a provider out in the world.
Great. And you're located here in Camp Johnson, right?
Yeah.
And what's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Easiest way would be calling the military cell phone, 802-503-2433.
And you're available
24/7, 365.
And you don't need any command, the command doesn't have to approve. Anybody can just call.
Anyone, family members. So I think it goes out in just about every newsletter that units have out there.
Great.
They make that a regular thing. I put it out at every yellow ribbon I attend, every training that I go to, because that's another part of the job, is go deliver some behavioral health trainings if a unit recognizes it.
Right.
Give them that, and I try to get the number in every single soldier's phone. Instead of just putting it on a piece of paper, I tell everyone, take your phone out, put the number in there, and most people at this point are like, oh, it's already in there, but it's good to have. You'd be
proud. Actually, my iPhone, you have a small list of favorites, and number 1 on the top is the 24/7 crisis number for Jordan, just in case anything's ever needed.
Yeah.
I always have it right there. And actually, I give it out a lot to other people.
Yeah, that's good. I think, maybe there's 1 or 2 quiet moments in the last 2.5 years where I've been like, wow, this is in a lot of people's hands, but it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It means that there's access and that I'm available.
Yeah.
And when it's not, as critical as maybe 2 a.m. on a Saturday, it's okay. Because that means that there's some room to learn in there. And if someone feels like it is that important, it's there.
Yeah. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
So how do you feel the mental health of the Vermont National Guard is right now? Good, bad, everybody's struggling, everybody's working through things. What would you say the overall outlook of mental health is right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that all things considered, it's pretty good.
That's good.
I think people they know where to go, and there's always going to be a few people who, I had no idea that I could come to you. And, well, okay, let's fix that, and let's look at why you didn't know that. But what I will say is I get the sense that society feels at least like it's kind of crumbling right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the world,
let
alone the country. And when that happens, I think that spills down into the individuals, and people in the Guard aren't special, and they're not, let me rethink that. They're not immune to the struggles of life. And that's what I think, that's what we see. What we're seeing out in society, it's still affecting people here.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's still a pretty big stigma for soldiers to talk to mental health? Or do you think that that wall is starting to come down. I feel like from what I've seen and what I've experienced, a lot of more people are openly talking about mental health, and they're not afraid to go, get help, which is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a really good thing.
Just you're the pro. So do you think that stigma is really going down, or where are we at?
I do think the stigma is going down, at least in the Vermont Army National Guard. And I say that because I can walk into a room and I either get this guy, or hey, how's it going? So people know where we are, what we do. The younger soldiers who come in, I don't think that stigma I think society has done a good job at addressing the stigma for all younger folks, like the 18 to 24 age range. But the stigma definitely still exists. It exists in the individual. It exists, and there are some legitimate reasons that stigma is there. Like behavioral health it kind of encompasses everything. Every single thing that every person does every day has some element of behavioral health to it.
Of course.
So I think, I do think the stigma's been reduced, but there's always more work to do.
Yeah. I think Joe always has a hard time asking for help.
Absolutely. I have a hard time asking for help.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. So, I think it's really important, like obviously to talk the talk as a clinician, but you have to walk the walk. And part of that, what I learned was before I can even go do any of this, I had to go through my own counseling. I had to go work with a clinician, and the school required it, but I'm really glad they did, because it gave me my own experience. Like, all right, this is not the most comfortable thing all the time. So it's been eye-opening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. What's something that you would tell an 18 to 24, or even any soldier that you've never spoken to for the first time, if you wanted to give them a piece of advice to help them be mentally resilient in the Vermont National Guard?
Ooh, to be mentally resilient, take care of yourself. And in every aspect of the word. That's a somewhat cheesy thing to say.
No.
But I think people are always told that. And that's the go-to of like, oh, I hope you're taking good care of yourself. I know how to take care of my basic needs, but I oftentimes will put those higher level needs and, getting towards self-actualization, if you want to put a fancy word on it, I will put those to the wayside to take care of my family first. But then I have to take care of what's happening at work, because that helps take care of my family. And then by the time I get to the end of the day and it's, kids in bed asleep, my wife is tired and worn out from doing her thing all day, maybe I get a little bit of time to like, all right, what do I need to do? But I'm pretty exhausted by then. So there's not much in the tank. But what I would say is find that time to take care of yourself, figure out what you need, to fill that cup, because no one's going to be able to take care of others if you don't take care of yourself first.
Yeah, I agree. I know a big part of my career, I remember, was waiting for people to do things for me, going to schools, getting promoted, if I was helping myself and I was trying to put myself first, then the success came a lot more. But when I sat back and just waited for things to happen, it didn't happen.
Right.
So, you definitely have to advocate for yourself and take care of yourself.
That's a great point, advocating, because it's a big part of my job, and every clinician's job is to advocate for the people they work with, and not just the individuals, but the population and society as a whole. But it's really difficult to advocate for myself. Probably I can talk to someone else about the fires that they walk through, and it affects me, but I can do that day in, day out. But actually, like, go truly advocate for myself and push, that's really tough to do.
Yeah.
It's super uncomfortable, and it can also land people in hot water, so to speak, because if it's uncomfortable, we're not going to be our best when we're advocating for ourselves.
Right.
Not every time, not until you get some practice at it.
Right.
Yeah. So I start small, find small ways to advocate for yourself. But absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some things that Jordan likes to do to be you and to maintain that happiness and to take care of yourself? Other than your beard, because your beard's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, just cut a whole bunch off of it. Started laughing. It was like, well, it's time to cut the old depression beard off of it as the weather starts to warm up. But
I was thinking that before I came in. I was like, well, I'm gonna be sitting next to Jordan. He's got a notorious like gnarly beard, so I don't think I have to shave it too bad. So usually I'm a little bit cleaner than this for this. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show Jordan what I got a little bit.
Yeah, right on. No, that's where it starts. Yeah, taking care of myself. That's a big one.
I know personally I need to get back into the exercise.
Yeah.
Like we get that time every day to do PT and exercise, and I just need to jump back on that. That's been a big one for me. I feel like after I'm exercising or I'm getting a good workout in and I'm coming back and I'm sweaty, and as soon as I'm done, I have like that sense of accomplishment and it feels really good. And I miss that. I haven't been doing it recently. I just need to make the time for me to do that. It's a big one, I know.
But it's really tough to do that.
It is.
Like again, there's some unspoken rule where you're now selfish if you're going to put yourself first. But to be blunt about it, people should be selfish for at least some time.
Right.
Like the word selfless like really means a lot to me. I think there's something important in that. But like in order for me to continue to do that, I have to be a little bit selfish sometimes. Like, no, I know other people are asking me to do things, but right now, like I need to go do this. So, PT, that's a big one. Something I'm definitely slacking on. Like I definitely need to make more time for that. But I've also found like I can't eat and drink booze the same way I did when I was a hard charger, 20-year-old in the military, like, or of course 21-year-old, I mean to say.
Yeah.
But no, like I can't. I had to adjust that, and I've had a couple of those aha moments of like, oh yeah, that second tall boy of a high percentage beer is not what I need right now. And that's another thing I would say. Take a break from your vices every now and then for no reason. Don't wait for the thing to happen. Just take a break.
Yeah.
And make sure that you have a good relationship with that vice, meaning that you're in control of it and you're not making exceptions to keep doing that vice on a regular basis.
Yeah. That's great. And I think a lot of people forget that alcohol and booze, they're depressants. You take those and they're not going to make anything better. And if you're going through something that's traumatic or you're going through something that's, emotionally, challenging, booze just makes everything harder. You know?
In the long run, I definitely agree. I think in the short term, I mean, that's one drug that everyone over 21, and if we're being real, like even in high school, it starts like, oh yeah, we can drink. Drinking is acceptable in almost every tradition in America. You can incorporate that as long as you aren't the guy causing a ton of problems.
Yeah.
But it's, there's consequences to it. It may make that problem feel less severe, but it's going to be waiting right there for you.
Right.
And it distracts. I find that it really does it makes it easy for me to be like, oh, that's not a problem. That can just go to the back burner right now. And that thing that wasn't really a big problem just gets bigger and bigger. Yeah. The longer it goes.
Yeah. It's a rough one.
Yeah.
I literally don't even drink anymore. It's been, I felt the same thing. As you get older, your body processes it differently. And I just get so tired. And so like, I don't even drink anymore. Like, go out to a restaurant, have like a glass of wine with dinner, but that's for the flavor, for the palate matching, for the tasting,
Yep. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like getting older really changes things, and like priorities change big time. Mm-hmm. My wife asked me, we got our taxes in, of course, by the deadline. Every single year, I'm like, we're going to do these taxes as soon as we get all of our W-2s.
Nope.
April rolls around, and I'm like, oh, geez, we're like way behind. Just scramble, we get it done. She's like, hey, like, you work really hard getting a little bit of tax money back this year. Do you want to buy something? And I wasn't even aware of this, but what I said to her is like, no, throw it in the savings account, because we're going to need it at some point. Yeah. Life is tough right now.
Life is tough.
So like the toys and all the things that I like to do, I got enough. Like, so watching those priorities change in myself and not even knowing it, say, oh, okay, I'm doing all right. So that would be another thing I'd say to people. Give yourself some grace and recognize when you're doing something well. Even if it's something small, like no one else has to know about it, but take the time to like say it in your own head, like, hey, good job. And it's, positive self-talk. It's really important. It's something I've learned to like pay attention to how I'm talking to myself and how I talk about myself. But I also have a lot of fun with, making jokes. A lot of jokes have some truth based in them. So
all jokes.
Yeah. You gotta be mindful of that stuff and pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And money too, I'm sure, is a big mental stressor too.
Big time.
That's got to be like a number one reason half the people come see you. I'm having money woes. My life's falling apart. I ain't got money.
Yep. Relationship troubles. And again, it's tied in with money woes. How do you making ends meet? The dollar is not going as far right now. And that's really tough. It's scary to people. No one's talking about how mad they are they're not putting X into savings. They're talking about how am I going to pay this bill?
Yeah.
And that's I heard someone once said they equated financial and debt stress to back in caveman days, like the lion hunting you. It's that same amount of stress because it's always there. You always have to be aware of it. It always hangs over your head. So fortunately, my wife is very financially savvy. And when we got married, I was like, I am not financially savvy. That's your wheelhouse. That's your job, please. And she does a good job.
Good on you for admitting that and pushing it over. Nothing wrong with that.
Good to recognize like strengths and weaknesses, and that was definitely not a strength of mine. It's like, so here's where I'm at. Do you still want to do this? She's like, yeah, dude, I got you, but maybe make some better choices. And it's the little things that add up. That's what I learned. I wasn't going out and buying big stuff. Little things every day. Watch when you stop going to the coffee shop every day and buying like even just one coffee. Do that one thing, and you'll have a little more money in the bank.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it's small, but it's also really nice to go like have the thing. Like, I go to Starbucks, I go to Dunkin' Donuts, get my iced coffee every day. It adds up really quick.
It does. But hey, if you can save that money,
right,
you're going to be mentally. That's one less thing you got to think about.
Now translate that same thing into mental health. Same deal. Like save that really good moment, that thing for down the road, and it adds up to something bigger. So that that's why I try to tell people, I don't care how skilled someone is at navigating the troubles of life. Life is going to throw something everyone's way at some point.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Life's going to throw something your way. So put some of that mental health currency in the bank for when it does, so that you can come out of it not so broken. Yeah, stick with that.
Yeah. 22 people a day. That's the soldier count, right?
Yeah, that's it's intense. It's
It's to like think about 22 veterans and suicide daily. It's just like trying to wrap your head around that is insane. Like, what would be, and this might be a tough question, what would be something that you think that we can do to make that number lower, like on a day-to-day basis?
Keep working on the stigma every day, making sure people have the number. But I think it's paying attention, having your battle buddies, and like, a lot of times referrals will come my way because it'll be someone that I've worked with, and they'll be like, hey, I have this friend, and want to connect you to, and they'll bring him by, and sometimes we'll sit in with them for the first one. So that's part of the stigma work. It's really not me doing a whole bunch other than being available. It's the soldiers who are out here paying attention, going through some really hardship, some really hard times, and then saying, hey, like, I see the same thing in you. Come over this way. Let's sort this out. So like one thing that I've found in this job, not every time, but sometimes I get a big like thank you for what you do. Like, that's great, I appreciate it, but the biggest thing that I always tell people to do is pay it forward. When you see someone else going through it, get them over here, or get them to someone. Like, do something, take some action, even if it's just, hey, how you doing? But if you're gonna ask a question, you got to be ready to listen. You can't, nothing worse than, hey, how you doing? Oh, no. I was just like asking that in passing. Like, I don't really want the answer. So I think people, as connected as we are with social media, I don't go anywhere without my phone.
Right.
Even if I wasn't asked to cover a crisis line, like if I leave home without my phone, I will turn around and go get it. But it's amazing how lonely people can still feel, no matter that we can connect with virtually anyone who's still alive from anywhere in the world right now. But people out there feeling lonely.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing that's happening right now, right? Like,
it's an odd dynamic for sure.
Like, we should be able to talk to everyone, but the loneliness still exists.
Yeah.
As if we can't.
Catch myself on Slack talking to my AI.
That's fascinating. I've recently, like, someone showed me the AI, like, I'm not going to pay for the monthly subscription, but like goofing off on the open source one. That's pretty fascinating. And also making an entrance into the mental health world.
Full blown. And that's honestly the whole point of these podcasts. We try to put these out, and we will put these out once a month. And it's about education, and pushing information and sharing and making sure connections can happen. You know, I hope people can hear this and listen to me to just talk about, mental health and suicide. And, it makes them stop and think for a second and pick up the phone and call.
Yep.
And that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Push out that message, talk to us, talk to Chuck, talk to Jordan, talk to, everybody if you're not feeling good, or if you are feeling good and you want to say something.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a big push in the mental health field to not pathologize everything and focus more on the positive psychology. And I'm about it. Like, I like it. It's really easy to get pulled down into the negative all the time. But, you have to be real. You got to be able to, like, all right, this is a negative event that's happening in my life. I am not feeling positive about this thing. And when that time comes, if you only focus on talking positively and not being able to navigate it, then you're going to be without some resources. You have to equip yourself with doing what you need to do when the time comes.
Yeah. A big mentor of mine was James Lane, and I don't think you were in the organization yet, but he passed away shortly after retirement, and he was the NCOIC over in recruiting for the longest time. And he always told me, he said, go to counseling. If you're having a good day, go to counseling. If you're having a bad day, go to counseling. Go to marriage counseling. Yeah. If things are good, go to marriage counseling. If things are bad, go to marriage counseling. And I feel like I've always made sure to present myself and really try to take care of my brain. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Right.
Brains are ever flowing.
Yeah.
But, just to have him say that to me as a young soldier, I was 20, 21. And it stuck with me my whole life. I'm always thinking about counseling. I need to talk today. I'll pick up the phone, go talk to somebody. How do you feel like the Vermont National Guard leadership is? Do you think that's the same? They're all on the same wavelength as far as counseling and mental health goes. They're all pretty serious about Joes taking care of themselves.
Yeah, actually, and like surprisingly, I don't want to say surprisingly, it's like I've been here for 6 years overall between the jobs that I've held, but that's where I feel pretty confident about the stigma. Is very rarely do I run into like specific resistance.
Right.
I think that trying to do all of the things that a unit is expected to do 2 days a month is wild.
Absurd.
That it, like, the training plans that are supposed to be happening, it's a lot. But the training that we offer isn't a mandatory training. It doesn't check the block for anything. And we're busy with trainings. Like, we're constantly having to reschedule, and that's because the commanders, the first sergeants, all of the leadership are making the time to do it. And another big, great thing that I see is leadership staying in the room. And that's how I know that they're like really supportive of this and participating in the conversation. Not all right, we have to go do leadership things. They're sticking around and participating and really being a big part of that and opening up about their own stuff in front of their soldiers. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see the leadership finally jumping on board and eliminating that stigma. I feel like the old ways, like the way that it used to be, that generation, the Vietnam, the hardened mind, that's starting to go away.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is some, I have respect for that too. I definitely do. I see it in my family. Like, I don't know, say half my family would totally go to a counselor and the other half wouldn't. And, no fault to anyone, it's just how they go about it, but it is changing. And I guess when I took this job, my plan was we definitely go to the top and make sure that momentum is happening, is trickling down. But we also work at the bottom. And the hope is that they meet each other in the middle. There's probably going to be some bounce back and some people missed, but hopefully it catches them on the other side too.
And as long as everybody's open and willing to learn or change a little bit and figure it out, it should all come out in the wash.
Yep. And I know I've mentioned being available, but I think that, I don't want to say the last part, but another stigma is don't just assume that someone is struggling so greatly just because someone would see them walk into the office. Sometimes people come in because they're concerned about someone else. Sometimes people just want to catch up and do that check-in. But, it's there's a lot of optics that are associated with it.
Yeah.
And, we're never going to be 100% perfect and fix everything. But, be flexible. Let people work through some things. It'll happen.
Yeah. We're actually getting that new building. So our whole family programs, your office, a bunch of other offices are going to come together for the new building. And a big part of it is that they wanted a separate entrance on the side for mental health.
Yeah.
That way people didn't have to do that, almost walk of shame. I know it's not walk of shame, but it's what it kind of feels like.
Yep.
Walking into the counselor's office.
Yeah. That's a big deal. Where we're at now, there's a stairwell right next to our office door that you can go in and get up there and almost pass nobody. And it's good.
I use it
to have it that way. Right. I use it every day.
Yeah.
It's a good way to go. Sometimes I wish I could do more walk and talks with people. I definitely enjoy getting out and walking. There's something about connecting, even if you're walking by buildings and everything, just being outside, moving. There's some really good value to that, but it always comes down to this is a small organization, so where would we do that? And it would be tough to do that on property here at Camp Johnson, but I do think it's changing. I always tell people it really is no one else's business until it is. Right. And we're in the military. People have to understand that, but if it's not at the level where it's incongruent with military service, nobody's business should be put out there, and people shouldn't feel obligated to put their business out there, again, with the caveat that we are in the military.
In the Vermont National Guard.
Right.
And it's about this big.
Right.
Everybody knows everybody's business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So a couple more questions before we'll start to wrap this up a little bit. How about some red flags if you see somebody displaying some actions or behaviors that are concerning to you? What are some red flags that you would tell people to be on the lookout for? And then where would you go? If I saw somebody that I was in distress, or I could tell that they were acting differently, what's the easiest thing for me to do? Or if I myself was feeling, I was having a rough day, where could I go?
Well, I think you kind of said it best right there. In distress or very different. How'd you say it? You said just acting differently?
Yeah, just strange behaviors, red flags. What would some red flags be that you commonly see?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into a specific here because I think that hangs people up.
Yeah.
I think people get hyper focused on, all right, I need to watch out for this, 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 and this. But instead, pay attention to what's normal for them. Because somebody who is suddenly, what's the classic one? Giving away all of their things.
Yeah.
I don't need this anymore. That would be something worth checking in on. And that's not a bad one to remember. But is it normal? Is it in context? Are they really upset and angry? Well, did they just recently go through a breakup? It's appropriate for them to be upset and angry.
Right.
Did they have a really bad day at work? It's appropriate. It would be more concerning if the behavior isn't matching with the situation. And it's hard to know what's going on because I think, at least here in the States, we're trained at a pretty young age to mind your own business and keep your business to yourself. So it's hard to break through that barrier of like, hey, what's really going on? Put it in the context of the guard. You see someone 2 days a month. What is their normal? I can also, do something 2 days a month and look like a duck on the water, where it's all nice, calm, and serene, but under the surface, my feet are, going a mile a minute. Yeah. So it's know your people and know your friends and watch out. I guess something to look out for is like a lot of isolation. We are social creatures. If there's someone is always like off on their own, maybe that's normal for them and that's how they like to do it. But check in with them. I think isolation causes a lot of long-term issues down the road for people feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would kind of leave it at. Is like, is it normal for them? And what's the context of the situation? Is it appropriate for them to be in that mood and, displaying those behaviors?
Yeah. It's a tough one.
It is. It is. Again, I don't think that anyone's ever going to come up with the perfect answer for that.
Right.
But is it ever going to hurt anyone to say, "Are you okay?" And I think this one's being dispelled for the most part, but people have been under the assumption at some point that asking the direct question about suicide or hurting yourself is going to cause them to think about that if they're not already. And I'm pretty sure that myth has been dispelled.
Yeah.
But getting people to understand that, I've never seen anyone be mad that they're asked that. I think, again, the mad part might come from, I was asked that, but they really didn't care.
Right.
And that one will do some damage.
Yeah.
To like be asked and not have any follow through on that.
Right.
So as far as where to go, you have your primary care physician. If you're it's hard to get out of bed every morning. You're not taking good care of yourself as far as the basics. Talk to your doctor. The number again, call me, 802-503-2433. You can send me a text. You can use your friend's phone and start asking the questions if that's what it takes to get the conversation started. Howard Center is a great resource in Vermont. Then we have people at Family Programs.
Yeah, we have our 1-888-607-8773. That's our 24/7.
Yeah.
We can connect you to an outreach specialist. We also have Charlene, who does non-medical counseling.
Yeah.
She's kind of like you and Chuck. She's here all the time.
Yep.
And she'll see you, no questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I would remind people. No matter how tough it's feeling, there are so many good people who really care here.
Yeah.
But it's difficult because we all have a large caseload all the time. So, but that's a good thing. The tough part is it doesn't matter how busy we are. Busy is good. What matters is that we will find someone for you to work with. And we may have to tell everyone that day, instead of an hour, you get 45 minutes because I have to create an extra hour in my day to meet with someone.
Right.
So there's that. Check in with your friends. Make sure you build a good network when you can.
Could you just pick up the phone and call 911?
Absolutely.
If you were having just you think that you're having a bad time, pick up the phone, call 911, or just drive to the emergency room.
Absolutely.
I think that's one that people forget about all the time.
I highly recommend that.
Because they're going to take care of you.
Absolutely, they are. 988 is a somewhat newer resource. I think people are scared to call 988 because it feels so serious, but it's taking over in a pretty big way, but I think it's good.
I'm not familiar with 988.
It's very similar to 911, except it's for suicidal ideations.
Oh, wow.
And it's, if you call 988 and press 1, you get connected to someone who specializes working with veterans.
Wow.
So that's a really solid resource. I actually called them not too long ago, and I felt bad having to call a crisis line, but I had a question and a potential situation that I want to know if they're a good fit for that. And one of the nicest people I've ever spoken to on the phone. Oh yeah, no, that, like, please just have them call us and press 1. Like, might not get connected to the same person, but that's in our wheelhouse. So I'd say 988, just everyone start remembering that one, because it'll get you to a more specific type of resource than 911. But hey, you can call 911 when your phone says it has no reception. So if that's what you got.
Oh, dang. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's like it makes an emergency call. So it connects to towers in a different way if, like, you really need.
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying it's going to work every single place.
But still, it gives you that option.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you for coming onto our podcast today. As always, we put these on YouTube, Kitchen Spoons and Combat Boots. Also, visit our Family Programs Facebook page. We are at NGVT Family Programs. We post all of our content there. Jordan, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Hopefully you didn't miss too many people to talk to.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and any time, any questions, we'll post all of Jordan's information. Our information's up. And thank you so much for tuning in, and stay mentally healthy in the month of May. So take care.
Rock on.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
For more information or support, please reach out to the Vermont Military Family Support Center's toll-free number, 888-607-8773. The preceding content does not constitute endorsement by the Department of the U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, Vermont National Guard, or Vermont Military Family Programs of the organization's products and services contained therein. Further, the Vermont Military Family Programs assumes no responsibility for the consequences of using the products or services provided by the organizations or resources listed. Vermont Military Family Programs makes every effort to present our clients with reputable resources. We cannot guarantee the validity of said resources, and the use of such resources is voluntary.